success, the Guildford Poor still haven't received their full amount a year and a half after their release from prison.
Northern Ireland Secretary Peter Brooke says the release of the Birmingham Six will help improve relations between Dublin and London, but it had no direct implications for Northern Ireland. Mr. Brooke has given the politicians in Ulster 10 days to respond to his request for all-party talks on the future of the province.
14 months of trying, and Peter Brooke still hasn't got the Northern Ireland parties round the negotiating table. But now he's given them a formula, which he clearly thinks offers all of them enough to break the deadlock.
The critical thing is whether people get, on balance, something which they think is a good deal for them. And if it's a good deal for other people as well, then it really has a chance of sticking.
These talks about talks have now reached make or break point, and some of those taking part are beginning to think the negotiations will happen.
My own party will look at the document. We have already got it. We will study it in great detail and we'll give our considered response to the Secretary of State. But if I were to bet, I would be betting that the negotiations would start.
Northern Ireland's governed by direct rule. British ministers from their offices at Stormont Castle make policy, with little reference to the province's MPs. Peter Brooke's aim is to create a local administration with all parties involved. The negotiations would decide what the new form of government would be, one that all sides hope will let politics begin to take the place of violence. The main obstacle has been the timing and extent of involvement by the Irish government, and it's already accepted Mr. Brooke's formula for getting round that.
We are quite prepared to enter into talks immediately without any preconditions on the basis of this document, and we hope that everybody else will do the same.
The unionist parties have also seen the formula, and they're still studying it.
A certain pathway looms before us. If that is a pathway, not a cul-de-sac, then we will take the pathway. If it's a cul-de-sac, the unionists will not be going down the cul-de-sac, I can assure you of that.
One of the things that has kept all parties involved in the process so far is that none of them want to be the ones who end it, and the government's made it clear that if the formula is rejected, then it'll be published, so the Ulster electorate can see what their politicians have turned down.
A 20-year-old student from Northern Ireland was freed by an Old Bailey judge this afternoon, then immediately rearrested under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. Kevin O'Donnell was first held last May, when 2 Kalashnikov rifles and ammunition were found in his car.
The court had heard how 20-year-old Kevin O'Donnell was arrested after a high-speed car chase in North London last May. 2 Kalashnikov rifles were found on the back seat of his car. O'Donnell's defence was that he'd lent the car to his cousin, who'd allowed it to be used by the IRA. He said that when he was stopped by the police, he was on his way to dispose of the rifles. The jury believed him. After 11.5 hours of deliberation, the jury found O'Donnell guilty of possession of firearms, but not guilty of possessing 2 guns with intent to cause injury. Commenting on the verdict, the judge said the defendant had been acquitted of any connection with terrorism. O'Donnell was sentenced to 9 months, but was released immediately because he'd spent that time in custody waiting for trial. But no sooner was the verdict given than O'Donnell was rearrested under the terms of the Prevention of Terrorism Act. This evening he was being held at Paddington Green Police Station in London.
In Iraq, fierce fighting is continuing between rebels and troops loyal to Saddam Hussein. There are reports of many battles, including one at Karbala, only 60 miles from Baghdad. In the United States, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Colin Powell, said American troops were redeploying in southern Iraq to demonstrate their presence in the region.
Colin Powell said that Saddam Hussein would, in the general's words, be unwise yet again to tug at Superman's cape. He said the coalition had left the Iraqi dictator up to his neck with insurgencies and insurrections.
You will always have trouble in that region as long as Saddam Hussein is in Baghdad. We think the interest of the region, the interest of the Iraqi people, the interest of the Iraqi nation would be better served if Saddam Hussein was no longer in power.
General Powell confirmed that the US is redeploying units in Iraq and replacing some departing frontline troops. Neither he nor the Pentagon deny that General Schwarzkopf has ordered ground forces back into their most forward positions 30 miles further into Iraq, but still behind the agreed boundary. President Bush has criticized Iraq for using helicopter gunships against internal opponents and warned against the use of chemical biological weapons. Experts say there's an implicit threat of American air attacks if such weapons are used, and US troops won't be pulling out imminently.
Clearly, those troops are not going to be, all of them, out of there until there's a ceasefire, a formalized ceasefire.
In Bermuda for tomorrow's talks with John Major, President Bush should get British backing for a continued tough line against Saddam Hussein, and the leaders will hope he fails to crush the opposition forces fighting in many areas of North and South Iraq to overthrow his regime. Wesley Kerr, BBC News, Washington.
Refugees from Iraq have been giving first-hand accounts of the fighting in the south of the country. They say the centre of Basra has been retaken by the Iraqi army, but the rebels are still in control of the surrounding area.
The remnants of the retreating Iraqi forces litter the main route north to Basra, where Saddam is now fighting his own people. This is the last Allied checkpoint, 6 miles inside southern Iraq. American troops stop and search all travellers. Most are trying to escape from what amounts to a civil war. From eyewitness accounts we heard, it appears the army has regained control of the centre of Basra, but the rebels are in charge of several suburbs.
The rebels in Islamic revolution are in control now of the Numa.
Those fleeing the conflict say there's considerable confusion, many people have been killed, and in some places it's impossible to tell who is in control. This man said thousands of families have abandoned the town of Nasra after 3 days of heavy pounding. Is there any sign of which side is winning?
In the beginning it was the resistance, but now the army is using very heavy artillery fire.
Amongst those turned back at the checkpoint, an Iraqi army deserter who told us he's now fighting with the resistance in Basra. He did not want to be identified.
I really wish that the Allies troops will go right now into Basra and kick out the Iraqi army who is slaughtering the civilians.
The conflict has brought nearly 1,000 refugees to this border camp. More arrive every day. Egyptians and Asians seized by the Iraqis from Kuwait are now stranded here, along with a growing number of Iraqi families. Carol Walker, BBC News, on the Iraq and Kuwait border.
The Liberal Democrats have said they will pull out of any talks with the government over the future of the poll tax unless they're assured its replacement will be linked to the ability to pay. And at their conference in Nottingham tonight, their leader, Paddy Ashdown, has made a clear bid to capture the Green vote at the next election.
Michael Heseltine was also in Nottingham near the conference, but he'd no time to listen to the Liberal Democrats' poll tax debate.
They're talking about the press conference.
They're talking about the poll tax.
Well, they probably got good cause to do that. Does the poll tax still exist?
Mr Heseltine, opening an inner-city redevelopment, has praised the Liberal Democrats for participating in his poll tax review. But that cooperation is now in jeopardy, as the government appears to have disregarded their view that any replacement tax should relate to ability to pay.
So far as local government finance is concerned, the consultation stage is over, and Liberal Democrats will enter the opposition stage. Opposition to any local government tax which is not based firmly on ability to pay.
Buoyed up by their Ribble Valley by-election success and their 3-year high in the opinion polls, the Liberal Democrats remain indignant over the Prime Minister's remarks about a throwaway protest vote. Sharing the platform at tonight's conference rally was environmentalist Jonathan Porritt, and he was invited to join them in putting green issues